Yeah, sure.
Eric, Eric,
I'm here.
I'm,
Yes.
I asked Lyle this. I'm so curious. How do you maintain hope when you have a sentence that basically takes you to death's door? Because that's the sentence, right? And that has been for a long time, for 35 years. So you guys have done things in that prison that really kind of, for me, kind of shock me that it's trying to make your life productive. How do you do that?
Well, that was a journey. So I didn't start out with that mindset. When I first came to prison, I wasn't just sentenced to prison. I was sentenced to prison to never see my brother again, to never have a hope for freedom, and to fend for myself in a very violent level 4, which is considered a maximum security prison, where I didn't know anyone, and I'm 600 miles away from any place that I'd ever really been to. So I was very alone, afraid, and and prison was hard for me. I faced a lot of bullying and trauma. Uh, it was a dangerous environment, and fortunately, I had the love of a woman that came into my life and brought a little precious daughter, and I began to experience fatherhood and growth and begin to heal a lot of the self-hate and self-loathing that I dealt with all of my life. So when I came to prison, I didn't come to prison healed. I came to prison dealing with the traumatic wounds of my past, the tragic crime that resulted that I committed, and I had to face all of those truths and somehow journey through that dark place of prison and try to figure out my traumas. Very, very difficult for me. A lot of starts and stops, and frankly, it was very difficult. The, when I began to really work on myself and realize that I'm not flawed, that I'm not defective, that there isn't something inherently wrong with me, then light began to open up really, and I began to love myself again, and that was a really important journey for me, and that frankly is what has given me hope. Is that if for people that are victims of severe childhood trauma, we live in the shadows, in this inner pain, in this silence where we have self humiliation and self condemnation and self loathing, and so a lot of my freedom came from understanding that I'm actually someone that's capable of being loved, that I deserve love, and that I'm not that that that
You have 60 seconds remaining.
inherently flawed and defective. And so understanding that is a kind of freedom. And I helping others go through that journey and realize that they're not flawed and defective just because of the traumas of their childhood. Is frankly something that is extremely rewarding. It's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And that's what gives me hope. It's what I want to do in prison. It's what I'm doing in prison, and it's what I want to do out of prison. Is 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 not have people suffer in that silence and live in the shadows and live in their traumas, but realize that they are survivors, and that we now have a culture that can embrace trauma and move through it. So that gives me tremendous hope for where we are going.
If we get disconnected, are you able to call back?
Probably not because they've been out of pocket for a period of time.
I think it got disconnected.
You have a prepaid call from
Guys, are you there?
I'm here. This is Eric.
Hey, Eric. I want to ask you something else. You kind of alluded to this, Eric. What specifically would you like to do if you get out? What are your goals?
Well, my first goal is to reconnect with a family and be with family. I have a wife that stood by me for 25 years, and she deserves me home, a daughter, and my extended family. So that's that's the first thing I want to do is try to bring about a lot of healing in our family through just me being home and sitting down and hugging and spending time with the people that I love.
By the way, could I interject? What a remarkable family you really have. I've spent so much time with them, and yeah. And when I say remarkable, that word probably doesn't do it justice, right?
I've been blessed, and Lila's been blessed with an extraordinary family. And I have an elderly Aunt Terry and an elderly Aunt Joan, and I very much want to hold them free. I want to hug them and cry with them and be with them and spend quality time that I have left with them, and that's extremely important for me. The most important thing. What it is that I want to do in terms of my day-to-day life is much of what I'm doing in here. I started a hospice program right here, a life care and hospice, where we talk about growing older, the struggles that you have in dealing with disability and with life-limiting illnesses. I want to and fully intend to be working with that community, and I want to continue the AVP program, the Alternative to Violence program that we're doing in here. I want to do that out there. But the primary focus for me is the childhood trauma community. I want to be an advocate for people that are suffering in silence. And the letters that I get thousands of letters from people who describe horrific childhood trauma that they have endured, that they are ashamed to speak out of. And that's just got to end. I don't want to live in a world where people are hidden in the silence of their shame anymore. And there should be no reason that the victims of such tremendous childhood trauma are trapped in that shame and that silence that I was trapped in for decades. And I am passionate about wanting to speak out and work with survivors of childhood trauma and find new ways for us to heal, speak out, and prevent that type of trauma from happening to other people. And that includes working with Mark and other significant lawyers, Lyle, and dealing with what some of the ills that are in the criminal justice system. There are people who have been in prison for 48 years. I have a roommate that's one of them, and that does not need to be in prison anymore. There are people that the system is failing, and I want to help people that the system is failing. So Lyle and I aren't talking about leaving prison should we be able to get out and not looking back. Our lives will be spent in working with the prison and doing the work that we're doing in here out there.
Could you pass the phone to Lyle?